What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. Of course, we know what the major topic of debate and conversation is going to be until the Dallas Mavericks get one more victory to tap dance their way into the finals. The topic will be, can they do it? Can the Timberwolves be the first team ever to come back from a 3-0 deficit? Something that has never been done before in the history of our league, with a standing record of 154-0 in favor of the team going up 3. Now, I believe it was last season, if I'm not mistaken, we seen the Miami Heat push it to a Game 7 after they went down 3-0 against the Boston Celtics. And teams forcing it to Game 7 has been done a handful of times in the history of the NBA. Can they do it, folks? Can they do it? If there was ever a reason to be optimistic in favor of the trailing team pulling off such a miraculous feat, I can see it here. Considering all of these games were for the most part really close, and a play or two here or there happens a little bit differently, then the results of this series so far could have been flipped upside down. Final score Game 3 was the largest margin of victory, but make no mistake about it, that was a 1 or 2 possession game in the final 2 minutes of basketball. These teams, for the most part, have played each other fairly evenly. The big difference is the Mavericks have the 2 best offensive weapons on the floor and the 2 best clutch weapons on the floor. And the Mavs have the best playmaker on the floor. And that has been realistically the difference in this series, or the known variables that is an X factor. That has been shown to be the real difference maker, especially during winning time moments of the game, and that potent offensive, weaponry that they have is exposing the Minnesota's bigs, especially. Gafford and Lively have been very important during these playoffs. Lively definitely been monumental for the Mavericks. Recent success, and after the blow to the back of the head or neck or whatever, and also the blow to the groin that nobody's talking about because the head injury happened after and it was far worse. Courtesy of Cat. We will see what his condition is moving forward in the week and his game status. Hopefully his availability is not in jeopardy, but we wish the young man good health and recovery. For those of you that are new here, new to Boo TV and my content, I am heavily invested in this series. I am not a Mavericks fan by any stretch of the imagination. However, Kyrie and Luka are 2 of my favorite players. Love them to death. Love their games. And on the opposite end, I do not like the Minnesota Timberwolves. I like Ant Edwards. I like Mike Conley. But despise the likes of Karl Anthony Towns, and to a lesser degree, the 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. You know what? I'm going to start calling him Ruby. Ruby Gobert from now on. Ruby. Magnificent! 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 But I said this when I made the pick. I have zero confidence in that pick whatsoever. None. It's almost a coin flip. It was based off of what I had seen from them defensively, being the Timberwolves against the Nuggets, knocking off the reigning champs in 7. However, I did also say that because you beat the champs, that does not make you the champs unless you do it in the finals. And I also mentioned that there is a matchup nightmare for every team, no matter who you are, and the Timberwolves just haven't met their nightmare matchup yet. And maybe they're seeing that now. I warn Timberwolves Nation of that. I absolutely warn them. Don't celebrate because you knocked off the champs in the 2nd round. There's other teams with different genetic makeups, and you're going to have to figure those out and make adjustments as well moving forward for other teams. I had no idea how the matchups would favor which team. I hadn't seen these teams really square off against each other when both teams were relatively healthy. So how everything would break down in reality was foreign to me. I really wasn't sure. The only thing I knew that were certainties going into the series was that Luka was going to be Luka. Nobody was going to stop him. He was going to be the best player on the floor. I knew Cat was going to be soft and not do any damage in the paint. I knew Mike Conley was going to be a solid facilitator, a very good decision maker for the Timberwolves. I knew Gobert was going to be a liability offensively if he wasn't dunking the basketball. I knew the Timberwolves defense would be tough for most players on the Mavs. I didn't know which version of Kyrie Irving we were going to get. I didn't know how aggressive Kyrie was going to be scoring the basketball, but he's doing an excellent job of reading the game, reading the floor, and knowing when to ramp it up. And him and Luka don't ever step on each other's toes. They're in sync, they're in rhythm. And you know what? That came with time. That was something they had trouble figuring it out when they were first paired together late last year. I would not be at all super shocked if the Wolves come storming back in the series, just because these games could have easily went the other direction. However, I am going to say no, that they cannot and will not pull this comeback off. The Dallas Mavericks, with all this confidence brimming right now, Luka's hungry as hell. You know Kyrie is. Their young core believes in their leaders and vice versa. I cannot see Luka and Kyrie losing 4 straight games. I can't see it. Possible, but not probable. I don't think it's going to happen. With that being said, we can expect the Wolves to play with the most heightened sense of urgency, or at least you would expect them to. I expected them to play this game, Game 3, with that type of urgency, and they didn't. And I expect them to bring on that one game at a time mentality. That's how you have to look at it. So the Mavs will need to be prepared to fight for their life and deliver the finishing blow. It will help that they will have their home crowd behind them. Got their backs for 2 of the next 4 games in the series, and they only need 1 game. But it's best to close this out in 4. Because you don't want to leave that door cracked, and little by little it starts to open up on the swivel, and little by little life and confidence is restored to the trailing team. In the words of one of the most infamous and legendary voices and quotes in video game history, the Mavericks need to finish him. That's all I got to say about it, folks. I appreciate y'all for stepping in. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and I'll catch you on the next one. We out, baby.